Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Dinar Updates Morning Grind. I'm BGG, your host. Grab a cup of your favorite grind, and let's get to work on some Dinar news. Okay, here we go. There's only really, this morning, I want to cover several recent articles, just the last couple of days, and I want to do it in a real quick fashion, give you some things to think about, and clarify some things I've said over the last few days. If you haven't been listening and wondering where I'm at, as often as I possibly can, I put thoughts along with articles on our blog that I've been doing for years, dinarupdates.com/blog. That's where I post the most important articles that I see, and I post my commentary with them. So if we want to go back several weeks, every now and then, I don't get to it for a day or so, but when there's real news, I'm there every day with bells on. So dinarupdates.com/blog. There's also the Observer, where I sift through some of the commentary in the community, put the stuff out there that I think could be plausible. That's at dinarupdates.com/observer. The articles for the last couple, actually, this is over the last couple of days, by the way. And these are going to be on the, there's a big, huge article. This is the number one for a while. This probably blows everything else out of the water. But I want to add some texture, some context, and some commentary to this so that you don't run around with your hair on fire thinking that, it's going to happen tomorrow just because the Central Bank of Iraq admitted that the project is ready. That is absolutely not the case. I believe that to not be the case. What they do, that's their business. And I've said this over and over and over and over. 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, what do I know? Or 2 years. I have no clue. But the big article was titled, and it's at the beginning of the blog for today. I'm going to leave it there until about noon. I've got some other stuff coming, some other commentary, political commentary, but it's titled, Iraq's Debt is $71 billion. The key phrase in here, Iraq Central Governor Ali al-Awlaq said on Monday that the Iraqi debt reached $71 billion, U.S. dollars, stressing, here's the key phrase, stressing that the subject of deleting the zeros from the currency is ready but needs a suitable environment for its implementation. He admitted it's there. He admitted they're ready to go. However, he did also say they haven't done it up until now, and they aren't doing it until they're ready. That's what he said in context. He goes on to talk about their debt, talk about some other things, relative financial factors in Iraq. Circles back around to the subject. And basically he's talking about the debt and how much they owe and how much they have and some debt stuff going on in the GCC. Then he pivots down on that statement and he says that the subject of deleting the zeros from the currency, which is the title that many believe is some kind of a value shift in the currency. He said that the subject of deleting the zeros from the currency is ready, but needs a suitable environment to be applied. Here's why. To prevent manipulation and fraud by the owners of vulnerable souls, by the leaders. My interpretation of that statement is by someone above someone else, and those would be the owners, and then in Arabic, some version of an Arabic translation, the vulnerable souls, the little people. So my commentary was this. I said it has been a long time since there's been any reference to the deleting of the zeros project in the POW. Here it is. However, I want to caution everyone that this appears to be, and actually this statement I wrote yesterday prior to another article coming out that kind of confirmed exactly what I was saying. I said in context, this appears to be some kind of a budget reporting financial meeting with a lock. Simply, he was just talking about this subject as one of a list of topics. So be careful in assuming that his mentioning of the subject means that there's an imminent RV. That's not what he said. He essentially said in so many words, it's very heartening that he mentioned it. Huge news, beyond huge, cataclysmic. However, he just said we haven't done it, and we're not doing it until we've gotten this problem solved. What is that problem? He's pretty vague about that, and it's kind of hard to tell exactly what he means. He said that he's affirming and I said that he is just affirming what many have speculated all along. It is a subject. They are aware of it. We're aware of it. Everybody knows about it. And anybody saying that it doesn't exist hasn't read simple documents that were presented to the United States Congress as far back as middle 2012. I mean, there's actual official documentation presented to the United States Congress that far back. Another important thing to note is his reasoning for not having it having not been done yet. And it sounds an awful lot like that they want some more controls in place, some kind of a campaign of also two separate things. More controls. They don't want manipulation and fraud like they've had the problem with now. And that's what they're getting IMF and UN backing for right now. Is they're trying to eliminate that kind of a financial manipulation on a global scale. They really don't want that. I mean, they don't want Iraq to be part of the world economy and have someone, a singular few entities, throwing a wrench in the whole world economy. They're just not going to put up with that. So it sounds like there's two sides to this. This is more controls in place so there's no fraud and manipulation, and then some kind of informational campaign so the little people don't get taken advantage of during some transition. Here's also another interesting note. And by the way, I'm not taking a side here. I just am commenting on what I see, what I read, and how I read it. That doesn't sound exactly like a float. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I had to go by all of the indicators over the last month or two, the official rate and market rate spread narrowing and the tightening and the financial controls and all the things that I've seen, I could easily see some scenario where they raise the value gradually over a period of time. That does not mean I've changed my mind. I have said years and years ago, every single thing I've said here is recorded. You can go listen to it. Nobody's hiding anything. I said a long time ago, I don't care if they float it. I don't care if they institute a rate. I don't care if they manage flows. I don't care what they do with it as long as they do with it. Because over a fairly short period of time, no matter which way they go, the value is going to be roughly the same as it was going to be no matter what. So why worry? If you're bullish on the investment, that should be your attitude. So none of this should take anybody by surprise. This is what I've said for a long time. So if I had to go by the indicators over the last month or two, I could easily see a raise gradually over a period of time. However, then this comes out, and if you read it and dissect what it says, it kind of is pointing out something different. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it, but it is interesting, and it's very nice to see. We haven't seen anything like this for a while, so that's good. That's the big article for the day. The next big article, and this was huge a couple of days ago, title reads, International Arrest Warrants for Hundreds of Corrupt Iraqis, including a former prime minister. Some 1,000 arrest warrants have been completed against those accused of corruption, including political leaders and a former prime minister. The memoranda were completed under the supervision of the International Investigation Team. Someone from the ICC or the UN was in there investigating and have found enough to come up with some kind of an arrest warrant. I'm almost thinking this has to be taken out of Iraqi hands for political reasons. Just me thinking out loud. I don't have any insider information. I'm just narrating what I see in a very interesting article. For all you who are concerned that this won't include Maliki, you may not be right, because the language clearly says a former prime minister, which, on the other hand, could mean Maliki. It could mean Alawi. He was corrupt. It could mean what's his face, the Jafari, who was recently in the oil ministry. He was an interim prime minister for like a year back in the 05 to 06, somewhere in there. And this article also points out that a body is considering whether to allow the UN to proceed before the elections or after. I have a suspicion that they're putting pressure on him over this, and it may well be out of his hands soon. And I'm not convinced that he didn't throw this article out there or let this be printed so that he could do it sooner and not have his hands dirty with it. He doesn't want to look like going into these elections if he deals with someone on that grand a scale that it's purely an electoral thing. However, if the UN does it and they get taken to The Hague, it doesn't have nothing to do with him. So I don't know. It's just going to be it's very heartening. Number one, they're dealing with their corruption. Going back to the first article with Alak. And by the way, let me double back to that first article. There was also a companion article to that just came out after that. The title was "Central Bank Announces the Rise of Iraq's Foreign Currency Reserves," where Alak's talking about that their foreign currency reserves went up to $51.5 billion. That was a companion article to the first article. It essentially affirmed exactly what I was saying, and what it was is more, like a financial reporting meeting, and they talked about the deleting of the zeros project as one of the topics of conversation. That's all. So very interesting. Very curious that they had that out there, but this is, just corroborates my earlier statement. If there was a companion article or a couple articles written at the same time, they just put out different times. I'm not exactly sure how that went, but it was more reporting on the same meeting. Third article of great import in the last couple of days. Let me look this up. Is the Massoum endorses the law of Iraqi National Oil Company. Apparently, he's on board. Everybody's on board. There was a lot of conjecture. There's been a lot of reporting and speculation that this is the HCL. My opinion, and this is kind of I'm reserved on the subject. I don't really want to go one way or the other on this. However, what I would say is Iraqis are notorious for being kind of vague about what they're saying, and then what they actually do may or may not line up with that. This particular concept, this Iraqi National Oil Company may very well. It's for all the things that the HCL was intended to do. It was supposed to be the law, the governing umbrella by which all the various provinces got their fair share of the oil revenues, and the people got some fair share of that. The way that this law is written, and some of the verbiage in there, it almost looks and feels like it does everything an HCL would do. And I may be looking at this in a overly simple way, but if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. I'm going to just reserve judgment on that, but the lines in there in this particular law about and the other thing is it's kind of weird how they did it. Everybody thought that a true patriotic HCL would distribute the monies equally, and that the people would get a monster share of it, and everybody would live in Iraq like they do in Kuwait, but in a very funky and very overly political and not a very good way, which kind of happens a lot. This Iraqi National Oil Company law actually does, it kind of fulfills all those political promises without giving the people very much. Because if you looked at there's a very small portion of the funds from the Iraqi National Oil Company that get divvied up, it's like, I don't know what it was, 5% or even less. Out of that 5%, that's what everybody in the country gets as their portion of the Iraqi national oil profits. So if they thought that they were, and this is what was assumed, I'm sure, if they thought that what they were going to do is have a Kuwaiti-like society where no Kuwaitis have to work, everybody gets $50,000 a year. It doesn't look like that to me. It looks like something, this looks like a horse of a different color. So, is it bad? Is it good? It's kind of a mixed bag, but that's my take on it thus far. and that's going to be your morning grind on that subject. Speaking of which, let me take a quick hit of this. And my favorite morning grind is the Community Coffee Chicory Blend, which is just fantastic and great. It's good for you too. Two more quick topics that I'm just going to make a couple of quick comments on some stuff going on out there, and then we're going to call it a wrap. There looks like Turkey, and by the way, these are not. I don't think everything that I've talked about earlier is pretty germane to the dinar currency investment. These are secondary issues that probably just keep an eye on. Turkey's kind of making some rumblings to the north. They're kind of making some noise to the north. Sinjar is a little bit nervous. I don't think Turkey's going anywhere. I think Bolton is very hawkish on this idea. I think our new U.S. National Security Advisor he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not confused by what Erdogan is. He is a bloodthirsty thug. He's going to look to see how far he can push, while there seems to be a little bit of a power void, but I don't think that's going to last very long. And I'll get to that in my next point. So Turkey's up there rolling around, making a bunch of noise. I don't think it's going to last very long. He's about ready to find out exactly where the lines are, and he doesn't want to cross them because the U.S. isn't going anywhere. There were some rumblings about back and forth. One article title says the U.S. receives an Iraqi request for election support, and the U.S. Ambassador says we're going to support this government only. And I think that's a veiled. There's multiple meanings in that. In number one, they're supporting this particular Iraqi government only. They're not going to. I mean, if anybody else crops up, those people are going to have to stand on their own merits. I definitely won't be Maliki. There was also some rumblings about some veiled source says that the U.S. is eager to talk about staying. We are not eager to talk about staying. We're staying. We're not going anywhere. Last time we went anywhere, the very next day, Maliki arrested his political rivals with tanks surrounding his house, and in the span of 2.5 years, he'd set the whole Middle East on fire. So I highly doubt you're going to see the United States go anywhere for any reason. I think we're here. We're here to stay. We got the biggest embassy. We basically got a gigantic Air Force carrier base right in the middle of Baghdad. So I just don't see us squandering that resource, particularly when we can be a force for stability in that region. And that's exactly what it is. It's not a reclamation project. It's just a stabilizing force. We're going to have QRFs in the area, and I think that's a great staging area for QRFs. I mean, it fills a nice little gap there and keep everybody on their toes. So if you hear anything about the U.S., begging to stay, we already got the agreements in place. We're staying. We're not going anywhere. That's just Iraqi political gibberish before these elections. It's not real. Okay, that is your Dinar Updates morning grind. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. This is your host, BGG. I am going to sign this thing off. Stay tuned to DinarUpdates.com, the current Iraq news thread. We put the articles in there every day. To the blog, DinarUpdates.com/blog, DinarUpdates.com/observer. We really appreciate you guys staying tuned, and we will continue to bring you more Dinar news, Dinar info, and Dinar commentary as we're able. Have a great day.